Good evening, ladies. We'll be starting in exactly 5 minutes. Thank you to everyone who came on time. Thank you. I'm very happy. We said we would start on time, and our on time was 30 minutes after guest arrival, and we're starting on time. This is good. Thank you to the ladies that have come on time for such an important event. I'm glad that you're here. Good evening, ladies, and welcome to the inaugural Women Investment Summit 2005. Proudly hosted by Alpha Alpha Omega Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. This event is made possible thanks to our sponsors, CFG Africa and Page Asset Management. My name is Bookie George Taylor, and I serve as the Programs Director for the chapter. I'm also the founder and CEO of a strategic communications agency named Robert Taylor Media. It brings me immense joy to gather with you, strong, accomplished, and visionary women. We are united here tonight, not for fashion and not for vibes, but by a shared commitment to growth, legacy, and empowerment. We're gathered here today for Money Matters. I'm proud of this room this evening. It's usually the boys in the room talking money, but now we have women in the room talking money, investments, and how to generate wealth. I think we can give ourselves a round of applause. Today, we embark on an important journey, one that shifts our mindsets from simply earning to strategically investing. Whether you're exploring traditional avenues such as stocks and bonds, or you're curious about non-traditional investments like art, gold, crypto, this summit is designed to expand your thinking, fuel your confidence, and equip you with tools to build a future of financial security, not just for yourselves, but for generations to come. In true Alpha Kappa Alpha fashion, we are doing more than just having a conversation, we're taking action. So lean in, ask questions, and connect with the powerful woman beside you. This is not just an event, it's a movement towards financial strength, resilience, and informed decision-making. And with that being said, I would like to introduce Ugonna Ibe Ejiogu, the president of Alpha Alpha Omega Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, for our official opening remarks.
Thank you for that introduction. To our Vice President, our inaugural chapter president, and our programs chair, Bookie George Taylor. To my chapter sisters, sorority sisters, and distinguished guests joining us both in person and online, good evening. It is my privilege to welcome you to our inaugural Women's Investment Summit, a gathering intentionally designed to equip, empower, and challenge us to build wealth that endures for ourselves, our families, our businesses, and our communities. Tonight's event reflects the mission and vision of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and is proudly presented by the Alpha Alpha Omega Omega chapter here in Lagos. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, AKA, an international service organization, was founded on the campus of Howard University in Washington, D.C. in 1908. It is the oldest Greek letter organization established by African-American college-educated women. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority's mission is to cultivate and encourage high scholastic and ethical standards, to promote unity and friendship among college women, to study and help alleviate problems concerning girls and women in order to improve their social stature, to maintain a progressive interest in college life, and to be of service to all mankind. Our founders were among the fewer than 1,000 Negroes enrolled in higher institution in 1908, and 25 women who earned their Bachelor of Arts degrees from Howard University between 1908 and 1911. 9 juniors and seniors constituted the founding members. Young women, audacious enough to create a space for community, sisterhood, and excellence in a world that rarely afforded Black women the opportunity to lead. I only became familiar with the organization in college, but as I learned the history, as I studied the vision of these founders and the intentionality of what they created, I recognized that I wanted to become part of that legacy. And for 17 years, I have had the privilege to serve and belong to a sisterhood that was not only historic, but deeply purposeful in its service, its standards, and its global impact. Today, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated has grown to more than 365,000 initiated members in graduate and undergraduate chapters across 13 nations and territories. And in June 2021, the Alpha Alpha Omega Omega chapter was chartered here in Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you. The first graduate chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated in Nigeria under the international region. Whether the founders knew how far their vision would carry, they laid a foundation strong enough to make it possible. Under the leadership of our international president and CEO, Danette Anthony Reed, the 2022 to 2026 administration continues to build on this foundation under the theme, Soaring to Greater Heights of Service and Sisterhood, mobilizing more than 120,000 active members to lead boldly across service, education, advocacy, and global change. That same principle of foundation building is at the heart of why we gather this evening. Our chapter's work reflects both the depth and range of that service. We have adopted a school as part of our ongoing community partnership, providing weekend and holiday food supplies under the Childhood Hunger Initiative Power Pack, and planting trees on the school grounds to support environmental stewardship. Beyond that, we lead youth programs under the Youth Leadership Institute, conduct breast cancer awareness initiatives both in person and through radio platforms to amplify reach and impact. We facilitate soft skills and interview readiness workshops and organize additional service projects that reach across multiple demographics, from students to entrepreneurs, consolidating impact while remaining responsive to the needs around us. All of this work sits within 6 international initiatives. At the foundation is strengthen our sisterhood, and alongside it, empower our families, build our economic wealth, enhance our environment, advocate for social justice, and uplift our local community. Tonight's Women Investment Summit falls under our Build Our Economic Wealth program, designed specifically to equip women, particularly those 35 and older, with the knowledge, tools, and strategies necessary to secure financial freedom, build long-term wealth, and create a sustainable economic legacy. The panelists you will hear from this evening have been carefully selected, not only for their expertise, but for their ability to translate information into action. This is not a symbolic conversation, and this is not simply information sharing. Tonight is about positioning you, wherever you may be on your financial journey, to take informed, confident, and strategic next steps. And if at any point tonight you feel unsure where to begin or whom to speak with, I encourage you to connect with one of our chapter members, the ladies in pink and green. We are here to facilitate conversation, make introductions, and ensure that you leave this room better positioned than when you arrived. In that same spirit of building something enduring, I challenge us to adopt the same audacity, to take ownership of our financial futures, to plan with clarity, and to build intentionally, not only for ourselves, but for the generations that will follow. We are honored that you have chosen to be here. Welcome. And now, please join me in welcoming Miss Adedoyin Wilson Diamond, Executive Director, CFG, who will deliver our keynote address.
Good evening, everyone. It's a privilege to stand here today among such powerful gathering of women, trailblazers, visionaries, builders of capital, and financial enthusiasts. Many thanks to the organizers of this investment summit, Alpha Alpha Omega Omega, the Lagos, Nigeria chapter of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, for putting a meaningful event at this together and giving me the opportunity to give the keynote speech. Thank you. I want to begin by acknowledging how far we've come. How far we've come when it comes to investment, financial investment, how far we've come when it comes to financial literacy. The idea of a women-led investment summit will be radical 10 years ago, would be unheard of. But here we are, 2025, gathering together, talking as women in a room about how to grow our wealth and how to develop financially. That's because we know when women invest in markets, in businesses, in each other, returns ripple far beyond balance sheets. It's far beyond dollars, it's far beyond naira, it's far beyond numbers. Our returns touch families, it touches communities and the entire economies. However, we have a long way to go. We need many more summits. I'm glad this is the first one, so I'm expecting there will be more to come. We need many more organizations coming together to talk to women. We need a bigger room, bigger space, where we're addressing women and educating them on exactly what to do and how to grow their wealth. Data shows that only 48% of women are investment savvy in 2024. That is quite poor. If we drill down this data all the way to Nigeria, I'm not exactly sure what we'll get. In Nigeria, 35% of women have bank accounts. And this is information as at 2023, just 35%. We need to do better. So let's put this in perspective as regarding Nigerian context. Does anybody remember Ajo, Esusu? Let's not be shy, we did it. I did it, and I'm very sure that some of us are still doing it right now. Yeah, that's it. What Ajo afforded us, especially women, is an opportunity to come together and invest. But the question here is, what exactly were we investing in? There wasn't any underlying asset that we're investing in. So we just have 6 women come together, 100K each. Now we'll pack first, they win. Right? If you pack first, you have an opportunity to actually invest that money that you get and then get some more. But there wasn't any underlying investment on assets when it comes to Ajo. From Ajo, we grew. We went into investment clubs. We're in investment clubs here, right? I look at investment clubs and I say that they're an upgrade of Ajo, because with investment clubs, you have an underlying asset. I remember at my old job, there was an investment club and we bought a property and then rented out the property, and then we were receiving rental income, and then we share that amongst ourselves. So that still happens. But let's talk about traditional investments this evening. Let's talk about stocks, let's talk about bonds, let's talk about treasury bills, let's talk about euro bonds, dollar-denominated bonds. Let's have those conversations this evening and see how we can grow our wealth. What's the call to action here? Now, I'm not saying Ajo is wrong. I'm not saying don't do investment clubs. Those are good, but I'm saying let's grow from those into traditional investments. Let's think about having conversations with portfolio managers, asset managers, and speaking with them and just showing them what do we have and how can we grow. Now, my challenge to us is in 3 folds. The first one, we need to stay informed. We need to read. Truth be told, we're not reading enough as women. We need to read. Read about finance. What is the MPR? What is inflation rate? How does it affect your portfolio? Do you even know when the AGM for the bank stock that you've purchased is going to meet? And when they meet, what do they decide? Do you know? This information is out there. It's out there in the public, in the dailies. In April, we had that's when the Trump war began. And if you were following it, there were some very good opportunities, wonderful opportunities to make money. People lost money, but there were opportunities to make money. When we stay informed, we will not fall victim to the Cybexes of our time. Yeah, we will not fall victim to Ponzi schemes, so we need to do more reading. Number 2, what exactly is your investment goal? Short, medium, long? What are you investing towards? Buying a property, whether it's Naira denominated or dollar denominated? Do you have a child like I do in year 6, and you want to plan towards university? You're thinking you want them to go to school, whether it's in the US or wherever. That's a goal. How are you planning towards that? Do you have a trust fund? Those are conversations we need to be having. Number 3, my favorite, start now. There's no better time to start than now. If I get a Naira for every single time I walk up to a lady, a woman, and I say, what are you investing in? And they tell me, I'm just trying to accumulate my money together. And once I accumulate them, I will start. I would have made money off them, invested the money, and have returns. That's always our excuse. We're always trying to accumulate together. Let me share a story, my own personal story. When I started in the banking industry many years back, I had a boss who was very particular about women investing. And there was a Eurobond that was going to be issued by Seplat, the very first one. I don't think they have another one now, but the very first one. And the unit price, the standard volume that you could buy was $200,000. I did not have $200,000. I was a copper. I didn't have $200,000. But you know what she did? She said, you guys have to invest. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy $200,000. And whatever you can buy out of my $200,000, I will sell to you guys at market price, as the price I'm buying. 2 lessons there. She told us, start now. I can't tell you guys how much I had. It didn't make sense. $500. Thank you. That really is the point. Now we're saying it's something. Because then you'd have thought about it's $500 against what was exchange rates? 150. It wasn't anything significant. But now we're thinking $500. It's good money. So I gave her that $500 and I bought that Seplat Eurobond. And when it was in the money, we sold and she gave me my money back. 2 things I learned. Start now. And that was the beginning of my journey because I was encouraged. Number 2 lesson there. Help the other person next to you. Are we having those conversations amongst ourselves as women? Are we truly having those conversations amongst ourselves as women? I don't think we are. We need to have more of them. We need to have more of these gatherings. I'm extremely passionate about conversations regarding investment, particularly with women, because I find that a lot of women don't know. So we need to start those conversations. As much as you're thinking about yourself and saying, you know what, I need to get into investment, let's think inclusively and involve the next woman next to us and get them started on this journey. So to all women in this room, you are not just attending an investment summit today, but you are also looking to pick up nuggets to help you propel you to the next level and grow that wealth. Let's act on knowledge that we garner from this meeting. Let's reshape our future. Our girls are watching. Let's step out of the norms. Enough ajo. Let's make it bold and let's make it inclusive. Thank you.
Please, let's give her another round of applause. Good evening, ladies. I think there may be a gentleman or somewhere. My name is Osase Gadaro. I am a proud member of Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and a proud charter member of Alpha Omega chapter. Once again, thank you for being here. Your presence here means you're being intentional about your future, intentional about your finance, intentional about yourself. So well done to you. So we're going to start the first panel for this evening, which is traditional investments, building confidence with the basics, how stocks, bonds, and funds grow your wealth. I'm going to introduce the moderator. Please welcome to the stage, Mrs. Fona Williams. Fona Williams is a dedicated global health and development professional with a keen interest in solving public health challenges and contributing to the improvement of health outcomes in low to middle income countries. She has over 14 years of experience. She currently serves as a senior program manager at the Clinton Health Access Initiative, where she focuses on increasing access to high-quality, cost-effective diagnostics in sub-Saharan Africa through strategic public-private partnerships. Fona's academic background includes an MBA from Yale School of Management and Master's Engineer in Engineering Management from Cornell University, and a BS Science in Electrical Engineering from Fairleigh Dickinson University. Ladies and gentlemen, Fona Williams. The next panelist is Mrs. Adedoyin Wilson Diamond. She's the Executive Director of CFG Africa Limited, overseeing the organization's long-term investment strategy. She has 2 decades of experience in mortgage banking, assets and liabilities management, and treasury management. She began her career in the mortgage industry in the United States in Stockton Turner LLC, where she brokered over $50 million in subprime and FHA loans in just 3 years. No, that's right. She has a BA in political science and French from Middle Tennessee State University and an MBA from the University of Phoenix. She's a member of the Financial Market Dealers Association and holds an ACI Treasury Dealing certification. Ladies and gentlemen, Adedoyin Wilson Diamond. Please welcome Akugo. I hope I said your name right. Okay, good. She is the Associate Director for West Africa at Acroman Resilient Agricultural Fund, an impact venture capital fund that invests in growth stage agribusinesses. She has over 17 years of finance experience spanning institutional investing, M&A, capital raising, and financial advisory on transactions across West Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, Akugo. Please welcome our next panelist, Toyin Akinde. Toyin Akinde is currently the Managing Director of Page Asset Management Limited, an affiliate of Page Financial International Services Limited. She has over 16 years experience across wealth management, business development, and consulting services. Prior to joining Page, Toyin was the VP Head of Sales and Business Development Manager of FCMB Asset Management for almost 5 years. Toyin has a BA in Economics from Baylor University in Waco, Texas, and an MBA in Financial Economics from the State University of New York in Albany, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Toyin Akinde. And our last panelist for panel 1, please welcome Mrs. Esohe Ekoride. She is a professional banker with over 20 years of experience in banking. Prior to joining Coronation, Esohe was an executive director of financial product development, purchasing, and supply chain at Access Bank and Credit Afrique Limited. She has a vast wealth of experience in investment portfolios and has helped many women build their financial wealth. Please welcome Mrs. Esohe.
Thank you very much, Sora Osas, and thank you very much to all the panelists. So, first thing I'm going to say is that we're going to learn, but we're also going to have fun on this panel. Because it seems like we're all very too serious. And I don't know how to be too serious. I'm very sorry to everybody in the room. So just take me as I am. Okay, good. So, but I think the very first thing that I want to do is I want us to just demystify what it means to invest, because they said all those things about me. At the end of the day, I'm just a girl. I don't know what it means to invest in stock. And my husband's going to be so disappointed. It's you have a whole MBA. You should know what stocks are. You should know what bonds are. You should know what funds are. And in school I did, but when it comes to doing these things practically, I'm just a girl, and some of these things are equally scary to me. And so I think the very first thing that I just want us to do is I want everybody to just give a very short and sweet description for the common girl of what it means to build wealth, and what, you talked about traditional investment vehicles, like the stocks, the bonds, the T-bills, the funds, what those things actually are, and then we can get into the meat of things. Can we do that? I think there's a mic on each. There's one there. Is there another one on that side? Good. And so we can pass the mic between each of us. I'll start with you. Can I call you Doing, or are you doing? Doing. So we'll start with you, Doing, and then on to Akugo, Toyin, and then to you, Esohe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that question. Yes, let's have fun. Okay, so when you say the average woman, it's different for different people, for everybody. The first thing you have to think about is the risk appetite. When I say risk appetite, I mean that what are you interested in? How long are you looking to invest, and what exactly is your risk? Are you willing to take a risk? Are you risk averse? Are you all risk? I'll take it. There's a saying: the higher the risk, the higher the rewards. Some person might not be interested in investing in stocks. Somebody else might say, you know what, I just want fixed deposits. I just want to go give my money to this firm. They tell me it's at 17%. They tell me I'm getting my interest every 30 days, and I will get my interest. While somebody else say, you know what, that's too small. I want to do big stuff. I want to buy Apple stocks. I want to buy bank stocks. So it really does differ based on your risk appetite. Now, with that being said, what is a treasury bill, or what is a bond?
Sorry to cut you off. Actually, I think if you can define one of them, and then we can pass it down to everybody else.
I was going to say that. So what I would do is I would define a treasury bill and a bond, because they kind of work in tandem. Treasury bills and federal government bonds are issued securities, the securities issued by the federal government. When the budget comes out and the government wants to borrow money to fund the budget, one of the ways they do that is by issuing treasury bills, and they issue government bonds. Treasury bills have the longest tenor for a treasury bill is 1 year. You can buy as low as 90 days, you can buy as low as 182 days, you can buy as much as 1 year. That is for treasury bills. For a bond, you're looking at 3 to 5 years. So I mentioned during my speech, if you have a child that's looking to go to university and you want to invest, and your child is in year 6, you can say, you know what, let me just buy a government bond and just leave it there. 3-year government bond, 5-year government bond, that works. So government bonds and treasury bills are issued by the federal government, and they're risk-free. Yes, it's Nigeria, they're risk-free. You get your money back. All right.
Hello, everybody. So first of all, I just want to say something that we finance people say, which is that this is not investment advice. No? Everything we discuss here, this is not investment advice. But so the fundamentals of finance is this, it's about cash flow. And finance, the whole concept of finance is based on the present value of cash flows. So what is an asset? Because everything we're talking
Before
about...
you go into that, when you say present value, what do you mean?
I'm going to describe it. What is an asset? What is an asset? An asset is something that gives you cash flow into the future. And there's this quiz that they give everybody in business school, which is, would you like $100 today or $100 in a year? And the correct answer, I can't remember, is $100. Today, thank you. The correct answer is $100 today, because when you present value the cash flows from next year, I'm not even going to go into all that complex. It might become $95, right? $95 because of interest. I'm not going to complicate things, right? But everything we're talking about today is asset classes, and everything has cash flows. And so even when she talks about risk, it's about that present value and the interest that you use to present value it. Okay, confused you enough. I'm going to explain stocks now. A stock is ownership in a company, and basically, so people start companies, and companies have shares, and shares are what say who owns how much of a company. And when companies become public, they give the public opportunities to participate in the upside, so capital gains of that company. So, and that happens when companies do well. Like recently, people have been talking about NVIDIA, right? Because of AI. So something else that Doyin mentioned that I think is really important is that we need to understand what is going on in a macro level, because that also affects our portfolio. I'm going to stop here. I hope I didn't confuse you guys.
All right, Toyin. So we've talked about T-bills, we've talked about bonds, we've talked about stocks. You can help us demystify funds. What are funds?
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'll quickly talk about mutual funds, but before I do that, I'll talk about why I invest. Yes, I run an asset management firm, and I'm supposed to tell you technical things like they do. I just want to make money while I'm sleeping, while I'm awake. I want to buy what I like without worrying that the money is not enough. So these are the reasons why I invest, so that while I'm sleeping, alerts are entering my phone. That's it. Now, for mutual funds are really a collective scheme, and what that means is just a group of people coming together to invest with a common goal. You have different mutual funds on the markets, both in Nigeria and abroad. They have different common goals. For instance, a mutual fund that invests in treasury bills is typically a money market fund. I'm sure some of you have heard that. A mutual fund that invests in equities is an equity fund. A mutual fund that invests in ethical investments is called an ethical fund. And a mutual fund that invests in bonds, fixed income, is generally a fixed income fund. So you have all these investors coming together to invest, to also get the attractive gains that a single investor would not be exposed to if they used the small amounts that they had. So for instance, I want to buy T-bills. If I go to the bank would tell me, for me to participate in the auction, I have to have 50 million naira. I may or may not have 50 million, but I probably have 500,000, or I may have less than that. So with a mutual fund, a lot of times you can invest with as little as 10,000, 5,000 naira, and you still get the same returns, the same interest that you would get if you were investing the 50 million naira. That's it, broken down.
Thank you. So that was very straight and to the point. And so given what my Sora Toyin has said about mutual funds, so I want you to please just speak a bit more about funds. So I know that Coronation offers a range of managed funds. And so I want you to elaborate a bit more on what a fund does and what the key benefits are of investing in funds, especially for people, I imagine that there are plenty of people in the room who may not understand funds as intricate, that one,
Intricate.
as Toyin does, or they don't, and especially for people who don't understand funds that well, or don't even have the time to pick individual stock in the way Akugo talked about stocks and owning a piece of a company.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. So, what I'm going to do, I like to be very, very easy. So, I'm going to start by telling you that every mutual fund is a fund, but not all funds are mutual funds. And I'm also going to try to demystify, even though I wasn't asked to, because for you to take an investment decision today, these jargons, these financial jargons need to be demystified. So I'm going to actually start, let me start with bonds. I'll just give you a cheat code so you just know. So a bond is you being a lender. You are the bank. So who are you lending to? You're lending to a large corporate or you're lending to government. So that is how to look at a bond. That is also what a treasury bill is. But the only difference is that for a treasury bill, it is mostly you are paid up front. But all of these are very conservative instruments that you can invest in. They keep you solid. So now going to mutual funds. Did I talk about stocks? So stocks, right, shares, is you owning a piece of a business. Is you buying a piece of a business. So look at yourself look at it like, you know what? I own a piece of Access Bank PLC. I own a piece of Coca-Cola. So it is you owning a piece. And for owning that piece, when Access Bank makes profit, what do they give you? They give you dividends. So that is just a cheat code I would like to share. So now going to mutual funds. Mutual funds is the easiest. If you have no clue and you are a busy person pursuing your career or navigating Nigeria, you are so if you have no clue and you do not want to bother your pretty head, the best place, the simplest place, the least complex place to start is to start by investing in a mutual fund. And what is a mutual fund? I think, Tony, you already mentioned what a mutual fund is, but I'll just also talk about it. A mutual fund is when we pool funds together. All of us here, we come together and we invest in a basket. So you have to look at a mutual fund as a basket of smart investments. So instead of you to say, am I going to buy a stock? There's no need for that. Am I going to buy shares? Am I going to invest in bonds? No need for that. Because you know what? A professional, in this case, a financial advisor, like Tony and myself, like all of us here, we have carefully curated a basket of bonds, a basket of stocks, and a basket of different securities, talking about fixed deposit, treasury bills, CPs. So you don't need to bother your pretty head. All you need to do, like she said, invest with 10,000 naira. It is easy, it is simple, and you begin to grow your fund. And all of the risk associated with it, the stress test, it has all been considered by that professional. So at the end of the day, you need a professional to work with you. Not only to work with you, to also work with you. So, I hope I have explained it enough. I've demystified it.
And just before you pass on the mic, can you please just explain to the audience what CPs are? Because you use an acronym that people may not know.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
I am so sorry. And I'm also going to explain some other things. Okay, we're four of us here. I don't want to take over the stage. I'm so sorry, ladies. So a commercial paper is called, a CP is called a commercial paper. And the commercial paper, again, positions you as what? The lender. Now you are borrowing money to a Providence bank who wants to expand. Or you're borrowing money to a Dangote who wants to expand. So it's you acting as a borrower, and Dangote is borrowing from you. And what do they pay you? They pay you interest. So that is a commercial paper. And the only the difference is that a bond is usually longer tenured. We're looking at 5 years, 10 years. So depending on your investment horizon. But a CP is usually shorter tenured. We're looking at 180 days, 360 days, 270 days. So no, even 360, 90 days. So it's usually short and sharp. So if you want to quickly make money short and sharp, you can just pull your money out of a money market, which is a mutual fund, and drop it in a CP. Because there are some interesting CPs out now. I mean, there's SKLD and Dangote. So these are things that all of us seated here, can advise you on, and we can also work with you.
Thank you very much,
you.
Esoya. So to sort of summarize what I've heard so far, we've talked about stock, we've talked about fund, we've talked about bonds and T-bills. And if I were to just sort of rank them in terms of your risk tolerance, probably go like T-bills, then bonds, then funds, then stock, from the least risky to the most risky. And so I think what I want us to now focus a bit more on is risk, because you started your conversation talking about every woman is different because everyone's risk tolerance is different. And so for a girl like me who wants to invest, or who thinks she wants to invest, or who knows that she should be investing, but is very anti-risk or just like scared, how can you demystify that risk aspect? Because I know there's some things where there's capital preservation, there's some things where plus your capital plus the one that you thought you were getting is not coming back. So how can you talk us through understanding risk and like understanding what our different risk appetites are?
Okay. So different risk appetite. You have the ones that are adverse to risk. They don't want any kind of risk. Just tell me I'm getting 200,000 naira every month and credit my account with 200,000 naira every month. And a lot of the times, that is where everyone kind of starts off with. You start off there and you get comfortable. Once you get comfortable, then you can move on to other things. Some people have medium risk.
Sorry to jump in. So that's, I want my 200,000 every month. What type of thing gives me that?
You can do fixed deposits.
Okay.
You can do mutual funds. I like the conversation about mutual funds. As she was talking about mutual funds, I went back to my Ajo conversation. The difference is that there's underlying assets. And in this case, your underlying assets is that basket. The basket of your treasury bills, the basket of your fixed income securities, the basket of your stocks. And if you want an ethical fund, Sharia compliant, there's also that. So there are numerous mutual funds for that. We actually just launched a mutual fund that's at 21, and you can invest in that. So that is easy, just like she said, very easy. You don't have to worry about anything. And if you're risk adverse, that is one that you should do. Just put your money there, go to bed, and income is coming for you. Now, if you are the person that's young and you find, statistics say that a lot of Gen Zs are doing this, which is trading stocks. They would actually research the stocks, sit down, they have the time, and they would trade stocks. They have a very high risk appetite. Like I said before, higher the risk, higher the return. They would sit down and they would buy your Apple, your Nvidia, and they would trade it. You can do that. But if you cannot do that, please don't go and do that. Because that's when you will now lose money. You don't know what Trump is telling them in China that's making markets move crazily. Find an investment organization that can help you and advise you on what to do. If you cannot do it.
And when you say do it, what do you mean specifically? Because
If you
said
cannot-
that they're going to study the
So,
stock. What are
now-
they looking at in the stock?
Information. What is going on with the company? Are they making money? Are they losing money? What's your strategy? ESG. Okay, I've started.
Yeah.
But
Like industry,
yeah, what's going on there? Exactly. Those are the conversations that.
Okay, Akugo, you're going
Akugo has gone to a different level
going
with
too far.
candlesticks. Let's come back. And this is why I said information is very important. I referred to when the trade war started. If you had bought stocks, US stocks then, and you just thought, oh, or you bought even Bitcoin and all of that, and you just went to sleep and just thought, you know what, they said you will make money. It's not Apple. Apple will still continue to use Apple phones, will be okay. And you never checked markets, you'll be out of the money. So there's also the part where you're buying these stocks and you're checking to see what is going on in the market. Should I get out now? Should I sell and take my profits? Or should I wait? Is it for, even when you're buying stocks, is it for long term? Are you buying just because you heard information about First Bank? They're going to release their results and they're making, I don't know, 400 trillion. And for that reason, they're going to pay dividends. So you're going to go in quickly and buy the First Bank shares. And once the dividend is paid, you sell, you get out. Or are you thinking, you know what? I'm going to buy this First Bank shares for Itunu that is still 5 years old. And you know that First Bank will still be standing in 20 years. So that's a long-term investment. So for stocks, it's not for somebody that's in their 60s. Somebody, let's put age brackets to it now. Somebody in their 60s is looking at fixed deposit, looking at mutual funds. Somebody in their mid-30s to about 50 might want to play with some stocks. If I do local stocks, I would think your bank stocks. Abi? Thank you. I need to know that I'm saying the right thing. Your bank stocks, your MTNs and all that. Not put all of their money in stocks, but some of their money in stocks and do a mixture. Or they invest in a balanced fund. A balanced fund has stocks, has your fixed deposits, and has your fixed income instruments also. They're good. Then let the Gen Zs be trading the Apple. So that when their money miss, they will come back and they'll be okay. But that's the best way to divide it.
And so
Hopefully
when
that
you say
helps.
this, and you say the Gen Z, you don't mean those of us that in our mind were Gen Z. Then
No.
Okay.
We're good.
So just
we're good.
note to everybody in the room. All right, Akugo, I'm going to pass it on to you, and I want you to just share a bit with your with the room to the best of your comfort levels to describe your investing mindset when you started and how that has evolved over your years in the financial industry.
Thanks. Okay, so not to age myself, but
Yeah, that's why I need the number.
because
Over the
I don't
years.
think I'm a Gen Z because I'm not as cool as that. But my friend and I were just talking about how in our head we think we're 16. But in any case, when I started investing, my mindset was honestly vibes and inshallah. I didn't know at the time, but it was really vibes and inshallah. Everything she said about Gen Zs. So first of all, I entered I started working in 2006. So yes, to date myself. And at that time in Nigerian capital markets, anybody who was there at the time or is a capital markets historian will know that was when the banking recapitalization happened. So that's when banks became stronger. Before we had 89 banks and then they had to consolidate to 24. And then I can't remember how many insurance companies we had. They had to consolidate to 20. So there were stronger companies and that gave people more confidence to invest in the companies because remember, you're investing in the future of these companies. When you buy a stock, you buy it because you believe what the management has said. As Doni said during her speech, companies tell us what they're going to do. Companies have they have earnings calls every quarter. They tell us what they're doing. They tell us what is happening in the economy, what they're seeing, and where they're going to. And based on that, if you listen to enough earnings calls, you'll be able to make a judgment call on which companies actually, have solid strategies or who you can trust with your money. In any case, at this time, the market was sweet, you guys. It was like 2000 in the US. There was excitement, frenzy. At that time, in the stock market in Nigeria, shares could only go up 5% a day. And you would know which share is going to go up 5% continuously. And in 15 days, you can 2x your money. we were in Russian roulette. We were like, it was sweet. It was amazing. And that was my life. But in any case, the music cannot go on forever because 2008 came and, Lehman Brothers fell down. In Nigeria, we were still dancing around our merry-go-round thinking that we're immune. Remember when they were telling us that we're shielded and everything. But anyways, March 2009 came and the market crashed. But so initially, my investing mindset at that time was just opportunistic. It was, I would just hear a tip. I would just be walking around the corridor, here, okay, we're buying ASL, please, ASL, buy me ASL. I'll open my spreadsheet, 5%, and I know when I'm exiting. In fact, some people were better at it than me because I'm not really good in admin. So I will invest for short term, but I won't exit. This is like musical chairs. What's that thing? It's musical chairs, they call it, right? The music will stop, and me, I'm standing looking for seats. Everybody has gotten seats. Me, I'm still holding onto the stock that I should have sold like 3 weeks ago. In any case, that's not a sustainable formula, right? It's something you do when you're 21 because, money doesn't mean anything to you. But when you reach 30 and you know that you have to build legacy, which is some of the things that we've heard here, for me, I think it was Tony that said what she's investing for. You guys, I'm investing for 65-year-old Akugo because 65-year-old Akugo is not going to be working. And she's going to be stable. She's going to need cash flows that are as good as this Akugo who goes to work gets. And every single time, there's some things that we need to talk about. What percentage of your money you invest monthly? At that time, I didn't have like a strategy in terms of, okay, every month this is how much I invest. My mom used to watch Oprah so much when I was growing up. And I can't remember, there was this really famous woman who started Elvest. I can't remember her name, but she was on Oprah, really liked her, and she was on Oprah, and I remember her saying, pay yourself first, which is something we also say in financial markets or in personal finance, pay yourself first. So I didn't have a strategy at that time. There would be sometimes, like I would invest a lot in March, but I won't invest at all in April, I won't invest in May, in June I'll invest a lot, but that's not how to build long-term wealth. Long-term wealth, and even wealth that, like for me, knock on wood, I don't want my portfolio to go down, but because I now invest consistently, it doesn't take so much out of me. I don't know if this makes sense, but it doesn't take a lot out of me because I'm doing it day in, day out, no matter what the noise in the market in April, for me, when the market is crashing, that's a sale for me. And a lot of people were talking about that in April too, like this is like stocks are on sale. Like if you were bullish about, let's say, Nvidia or Apple, if you were bullish about it before the announcement, yes, a lot of things were happening because of tariffs, and that's going to change a lot. That was going to change a lot. So you need to factor that in. But as a whole, for me now, I invest in ETFs, which are exchange-traded funds. They're exactly like mutual funds, but they're an instrument in the US. So they are similar to mutual funds is what I should say, but they are on stock exchange versus mutual funds which get priced at the end of the day. These ones you can trade in and out of them. This differential is not important. They're like mutual funds for this conversation. In any case, me, I was like solid because when you invest in ETFs or if you invest in mutual funds that are like pegged to the US, like whether it's the S&P 500 or to those total stock market, what you're investing in is you're investing in the US economy. The bet you're taking is smaller because the bet you're taking is the US economy, is the US still going to be a place where innovation happens? Is this going to be a place where companies grow, is this still going to be like one of the biggest consumer markets in the world? That's the bet you're making versus when you invest in Apple, what you're investing in is that Apple will continue being in the cutting edge of innovation. I don't know what Larry Page is thinking, and that's not the CEO of Apple, but somebody Cook. I don't know what he's thinking about on a daily basis. I don't know what Tim Cook is thinking about on a daily basis. But yeah, so that's a riskier decision that you're making. Today, I invest for my future self. I invest based on a strategy. I invest, and it's like such in a boring and stable way. But I'm really grateful that I had that other time because, I got it out of my system. I'm not so jittery when markets fall, all of that. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Akugo. I know that we are running up on time, and I want to make sure we can take some questions from the audience. So Tony and Esoya, I'm going to have both of you just answer this very short and sweet. I think what I would like you to just speak on, say again? Okay, good. What are some practical steps that women can take to build like smart, data-informed, driven strategies for investing? So I think Toyin shared maybe two steps, and then Esoya wrap it up with maybe 2 more steps. So that's 4 steps in total. To build like a smart data informed portfolio that has a strategy. Yeah.
So I'm going to be really quick because we're running out of time. Smart strategies, first of all, really analyze how much money that you can truly invest on a regular basis. So you can use monthly, figure out how much your disposable income that would allow for investment is on a monthly basis and set that aside. Move it away from your current account, from your spending account, move it into your investment account. So that's the first step. Second step, be informed. Now, make sure everybody on the panel has said it. Information is key. If you don't like reading, if you don't like researching online, you can even ask ChatGPT. Ask, what are the best investment strategies for XYZ? Speak to a financial advisor. Make sure you get accurate information. Read research reports if you can, or get someone to dumb it down for you, because a lot of financial statements are full of a lot of technical information, a lot of jargons. You have to sift through. If you have a friend that's an accountant, or you have a financial, any one of us up here, it doesn't matter who your portfolio is with or who you invest with. You can always meet someone and say, so, you know what, please, I've heard about this. Can you talk to me about it? Can I set up a time? Speak with Akugo. These ETFs, talk to me. Can I invest $50 a month, $500 a month? Speak with doing the funds. Speak with all of us. Get someone to dumb it down for you, to tell you, but make sure you get information from more than one source. So do your research yourself, get information from online research reports, and speak with a financial advisor. Set your money aside and make sure you add all those points up and invest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Toy. For me, I would like to say that you must understand what your investment goal is. Where do you want to get to? And in understanding what your investment goal is, how do you want to get there? Which investment vehicle do you want to use to get there? It's a case of, I'm going to Ibadan. Do I want to go by road? Do I want to drive with towing? Do I want to drive my car? Or do I want to go by train? So you must understand how you want to get there. So understand what your goal is. And then you must also have an understanding of what your risk appetite is. Are you someone that likes to take risk? Or you like to take moderate risk? And are you also someone that likes to take high risk? Thirdly, because, before I go to the third one, I always say that your appetite for risk will determine how far you will grow, because your risk appetite is a superpower. It will determine to a very large extent how far you will grow your wealth to be able to transfer to the next generation. So the third one that I would advise is that you must have your confidence intact. Once you have all of this information, if you do not have confidence, you're not going to be able to take the next step, which is action it. So once your confidence hits the roof, you see that you're going to be able to dabble and delve into the world of finance and into the world of investments.
Thank you very much, Esoya. And so I know that we are almost at time, because I can see them giving me bad eye. But I'd like to take some questions from the audience. So is there anyone in the room? 3, okay. So I can take 5 questions. Sorry, 3. I'm joking. I can take 3 questions. So if you have a question, just put your hand up and a mic will come to you. There's some ladies in the back with a question. Yeah, that's fine. I'll answer everything. I don't know the answer. I'm joking. So just start by introducing yourself and then ask your question, not comment, first and foremost. And yeah, so introduce yourself and ask your question. Short and sweet. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for all the amazing information. My name is Imanse. I'm a singer-songwriter. And my question is, if you work in the creative industry where you sometimes have inconsistent income. So if you're a singer, sometimes you don't make money if you don't get booked. Maybe you don't get booked this month. How do you invest when your income is possibly inconsistent?
Thank you for that question. Who would like to take it? Toy, I'm going to pass it on to you.
Okay. It's a great time. It's a great opportunity to invest. When you have the money, invest. When you don't, leave it there and be watching it. When the money comes, take a bit of it, whatever percentage that you feel you can invest and leave the rest. But it's always good to save for a rainy day. So when you have the plenty, make sure you set aside the bit that's for investment. And also when you don't have it. When more comes, you put it. My auntie used to say, when one kind money comes, that one kind money, put it aside, don't spend it all. Okay?
I just want to add one thing, because I was thinking, even how do you even know from month to month how much you're going to have? And Tony touched on something. Apart from having a rainy day fund, which is like the asset that is going to grow, you need to have an emergency fund too. So that's 6 months, and what is usually recommended is 6 months of your disposable income, which somebody else, no, not this. 6 months of discretionary spending, of your spending, sorry. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much, Toy and Akugo. I see some more hands. Don't be shy, ladies. Put up your hand. Oh, I see one hand here. Okay.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Taiwa Balaka. Okay, where does pension come in here?
You're Nigerian. I'll say what she said. They have eaten our pension. She said it, I didn't say it.
Okay, so what I want to say, and I'm going to leave it for the experts, because me, I'm actually here as a lay person, but we're all Nigerians, you people. Like, pension is good. It's good, actually, because I think the pension industry in Nigeria has like really, really stringent requirements. They can't invest in private equity, which is something we've been knocking on their door. They think private equity is too risky. They are the only ones that invest in government bonds. It's because of them that government bonds always oversubscribed. So we know that they're putting your money in very safe things. That's not the point. But see, even we didn't talk portfolio construction, but safe investments, she talked about it. You need to take risk for your money to grow. Safe investments will not help you it will not help you in your old age, sorry. So that's just what I'm going to say. I don't think we can, as Nigerians, I think we know that we cannot depend on Nigerian government institutions. Like, that's just what I'm going to say. They haven't shown us that we can.
Let's do a quick exercise. If your pension is being paid, you always get a text message. I got mine today from whoever your custodian is, and they'll tell you how much you have. So, how long have you worked for? How much is that money there? What can it do for you? The other day I said, you know what? Just give me the pension. I can invest the pension better than they can. So they won't give you, sadly. There's really nothing you can't collect the pension. So it's where it is. The best thing is start building your own pension yourself. That's it.
And also, this is not only a Nigerian thing, no, because in fact, contributed pensions, they've actually removed it from a lot of countries to give people the way to actually make their own, live and die by your own decisions, not that you gave it to somebody to do for you. Sorry.
Sorry, I think you want to say something. Yeah.
So if I may add, Adedoyin asked that how old are you? Anyway, the thing is, I'm 53 years old, and when I turned... Thank you. So as soon as I turned 50, because I left the banking industry in 2013. So after 2013, I started my own business. And when I turned 50, I actually accessed 25% of my pension. You can actually access it. And these pension managers, they actually do a good job managing the pensions. They put it in very safe funds. That is why we have something called the pension fund. So that's just what I want to add. Your pension is in safe hands, and when you're old enough, you can access it.
And
Thanks.
not just when you're old enough, actually. If you're out of work for up to 4 months,
for 4 months, you can access
then you
it.
can access
25%
of your pension.
of
as
your
well.
pension.
So, but don't be out of work, Sha. I think we have one more question. The lady in orange red. There's somebody. We can't be
Good
everybody.
afternoon. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Ronke Adekbaju. My question is, so earlier this year, I lost some money in my stock portfolio. So I started doing some research to find out where I could invest, alternative forms of investment. I saw Bitcoin and gold ETFs were rising. But I don't want to play in Bitcoin because I'm not, 100% comfortable. Gold ETFs, I tried asking around where I could get that. No one was able to give me some answers. I heard someone say something about ETFs. I'm not sure who said, but if you could give us some more information about ETFs and gold ETFs specifically. Thank you.
So I will say that the second panel is going to talk about all kinds of alternative investments. So you can learn a bit more about Bitcoin if that's something that you want to explore in the future, and also about investing in gold and in art. But I'll allow Akugo talk about ETFs.
Yeah, gold is having a moment, and gold is a safe investment asset class. I just wanted to say that because I can't actually tell you where to buy gold ETFs because I haven't looked. It's not something I've looked into. The thing is that ETFs specifically, I invest in US ETFs, and unfortunately, I think Bamboo has ETFs. Yes. So you have to research the ETFs too, but what Bamboo would most likely have, I think, is like VU and QQQ and VTI and VUX. Do they have gold? Sorry, let me ask these people. No, QQQ and VTI. Okay. Just QQQ, okay, yeah. So
different letters, Sha. They have many things.
But yes, so the normal ETFs you can buy on Bamboo. ETFs, we already discussed it. ETFs are exchange traded funds. They're like mutual funds. QQQ is like technology ETF. But you can also Google it. You just put $QQQ. I do this every day. $VOO. $VTI.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we can take one more question. I know the lady is like red or orange. I'm not sure the color. She's asked. Okay, perfect. All right. Do we have time for? We don't. That's so sad. Yes, but thank you all for your time. We really appreciate it. And I think we're going to call the second panel now. But thank you, ladies. Oh, we'll take it. Thank you, ladies.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, are you guys ready for the second panel? Okay, I'm sure we have a little bit more energy. Are you guys ready for the second panel? All right. Now, second panel is exploring new paths, real estate, private ventures, film, art, gold, and other non-traditional investments. Our moderator. Please welcome Chika Uwaze. She is a writer, entrepreneur, and global thought leader shaping conversations at the intersection of identity, reinvention, and African excellence. She is the co-founder of Afropolitan, a platform building the world's most influential digital nation for Africans and the diaspora, powered by media, community, and culture. She is also the founder of The Soft Nest, a lifestyle platform helping ambitious women design lives of softness, strategy, and emotional clarity. Ladies and gentlemen, Chika Uwaze. The next panelist, Ugonna Ibe Ijogu. She is a curator, designer, and sustainability strategist. Founder of Yenwa Art Gallery, she nurtures and positions African artists for global recognition through curated exhibitions, international fair participation, and strategic art placements, securing acquisitions by major private and public collections, such as the Kingsley Collection and the First Rand Group. A former director of the Guild of Professional Fine Artists of Nigeria, Ugonna was appointed to Nigeria's 2024 National Cultural Policy Drafting Committee, where she contributed to frameworks at the intersection of art, environmental sustainability, and cultural infrastructure. She is also the current president of Alpha Alpha Omega Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Please welcome Adeze Siekpe. She is a gold merchant and specialist and the CEO of Real Jewels by Ada Limited. She is known for her sophisticated pieces of pure Italian gold. With over 5 years in the precious metals industry, she has gained a reputation as a trusted gold merchant with a focus on sourcing and supplying of high quality 18 karat and 21 pure Italian gold, custom orders, and jewelry sourcing for fashion and for investment purposes. Adeze Siekpe. Our next panelist, please welcome Mrs. Adesua Bello Osage. She is a distinguished lawyer and visionary entrepreneur, celebrated for her groundbreaking contributions to Africa's estates and hospitality sectors. As co-founder and deputy CEO of 715 Capital Limited, she has played a pivotal role in reshaping the real estate landscape, leading the development of high-end, purpose-driven properties that set new standards in cities like Lagos. She is a Harvard graduate and is qualified to practice law in Nigeria, England, and Wales. Adesua Bello Osage. Please welcome our next panelist, Zulumoke Oyibo. She is a top billing, she's also one of my bosses. She's a top billing box office film producer and director in the Nigerian film industry. She is the co-founder of Inkblot Productions, a lead film production company in Africa. Her films, The Arbitration and The Wedding Party, were showcased at the prestigious Toronto International Film Festival in 2016, with The Wedding Party holding a 4-year record for the highest grossing Nollywood film in Nigerian history. Zulumoke has produced and executive produced over 25 award-winning films, which I'm one of them. Winning films since her first feature in 2015. She has also produced a slate of films under Amazon's theatrical licensing deals with Inkblot Studios, a first-of-its-kind deal out of Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, Zulumoke Ayibo. And our last panelist, please welcome Chisholm Felix. She is a trailblazer in the crypto and Web3 spaces with 7 years of core experiences in crypto and blockchain technology. As the founder of Felbeth, a Web3 edtech platform, she has empowered over 10,000 young Africans with job-ready skills since its inception. She is also the co-founder of NFT NG, with a thriving global career in crypto marketing, working for Web3 global giants like Binance, the #1 crypto exchange with over 200 million users, cementing her reputation as a market leader. Ladies and gentlemen, Chisholm Felix.
Thank you to my sister, Osas. This is a heavy panel, so I'm so excited. And I really want to open up the floor because I believe our keynote, she left us with something for us to consider. And it's something that's been on my mind on how do we start talking to each other more among our families and our friends, women, of how to invest. And I'm saying this as someone who, interestingly enough, I've invested in stocks, but my first real like heavy, I was like, ooh, bringing something out of my pocket was because of my husband. And he's in multiple group chats where they do different investments. And there was a startup, and he said, hey, babes, if you want to invest, and he gave me the information. And one of those startups already started giving me dividends already. But I wonder if I did not have access to that information, would I have known, right? And I think all of you represent different type of investment assets that is about information, it's about knowing. So the first question I have to all my panelists here is, how do we start having honest conversations with our friends? Hey, there's this Bitcoin, invest in it. Hey, there's this art piece you told me. And she's been helping. She told me a long time ago about this, investing in art. So how do we start having those conversations? I want to hand it over to Ugo now.
It's an easy one for me. We start here tonight, ladies. This is the point of this session, and I know we didn't get to all the questions in the last panel, but I don't want us to leave without talking amongst each other, speak to the panelists. Some of the panelists have their team members in the room who will be available for you to ask more questions. But share with your neighbor, share with your friends here, talk about what you're considering. Talk about things that you are working on now. And honestly, the same way the panelists said, start now, start here and now and share. Take notes, or then go back. Speak to the men in your life that you know are investing, and they're so much better at talking about this amongst themselves. Get that information and then take it back to your girls' group chat. Get in there and say, this is what I heard. Sometimes it's not top of mind. You're doing something, but life is in the way and you're not sure who's interested in what. A lot of my art conversations are with people who are already interested in art. And so I then forget to also say to somebody else, another friend, hey, have you considered this? Have you considered that? So I would say start tonight and then go back to your girls' group chats and just ask the question. Ask questions. This is completely an aside. But the other day, it was trending on Twitter that, Adace was one of my best friends, so we're in a group chat together. It's trending on Twitter about using the period cup. And I sent a message in the group chat to say, hey girls, please, is anybody using the period cup? Do you know what I mean? And then we started talking about it. But I had never asked that question. So take these questions to your group chats and then start from there.
Okay, thank you everyone. So jewelry to me is like art, like you said. So it's very easy to get into a conversation. So I love unique pieces and I love seeing people wear unique pieces. So when I see you wearing something, I'm like, oh, I like your earrings. Where did you get it from? Or when you see me wearing something, like, oh, I like this, it's different. It's not the regular stuff. So like that, we start a conversation, gold is timeless. So I'm always very excited to talk about jewelry with you. It started as I wasn't even serious about the business. It was like all fun and games, like somebody said earlier. But along the line, I found out that I'm actually saving money. I'm actually, like somebody asked about pension. I'm planning my pension for later on when I can't work. So these conversations come very easy for me. Or I'll see you dressed, oh, you look very, very nice. You can wear this necklace, you can do this, you can do that. So it's very easy for me. When I see you, trust me, I'm going to talk to you about jewelry. Definitely. So there are different forms of investing with gold. So right now, the gold bars are quite popular, even though it's been there for years. We have the gold coins. Then my favorite one is the jewelry. So I always say it's a win-win because you're wearing it. And I was telling someone the other day, jewelry is recognized everywhere. Gold is recognized everywhere. In London, in Nigeria, you can be broke at the airport and you just look for your malam and say, I'm looking for quick cash. I'm removing my ring, I'm removing this, I'm selling, so it's a form of investment.
Thanks, Chika. Just to echo what the panelists have said, it is really important that we begin to have these conversations. I think when I think about my friends and female peers, we don't necessarily spend as much time, just as you've noted, discussing different investment opportunities. Beyond just discussing different investment opportunities, we often don't take as much risk as our male counterparts. But the thing is that just as the panelists in the previous session mentioned, all with a wealth of incredible experience, some risk is necessary for reward, right? And the higher the risk, often the higher the reward. So as women, while we should focus on, our sort of safety nets, our pots, we have to also understand that just parking money, sitting in a bank account is not necessarily a win-win. And I think too often we see things that way, right? Ultimately, with inflation, going up, your money is basically losing value. What you can do with your money now, you will not be able to do with your money in a year's time. So don't always simply think of it as my money is safe, it's sitting in the bank account. Think of it potentially as I'm losing money, right? How can I, gain it? And so being in the real estate sector, I'd of course be very open to many conversations and be encouraging, looking at this sector in terms of your investment. I know there are a lot of controversies, to do with real estate investment. There are certainly risks, but if you're careful about choosing trusted developers, trusted partners, speaking to trusted realtors, you can mitigate a lot of the risks, and there's a lot of opportunity. So certainly I agree, the conversation is starting today. This is really, really exciting. And we should go out there, source as much information as we can. ChatGPT was mentioned in the previous panel. I encourage you to do that as well. The other thing I say, especially to the female members in my team, is that no question is too dumb. I think a lot of times we don't ask certain things because we don't want to seem unintelligent. And so we don't probe as much as we should. And even when something doesn't make sense to us from a common sense perspective, we don't ask some of those questions. So I'd really encourage, when it comes to having those conversations, being really bold about asking things that may even appear basic, but may really lead to a lot of insight. Thanks.
This same question is for me. I think mine is different. because film is so high risk and it's such a long-term investment. So having conversations usually ends in 5 minutes, about investing in film. What we found is that most of the time it's people who are very passionate about art, about film, that care to even have a longer conversation than that. And because people are quite used to, you have gold on your wrist, you want to quickly make money, you sell it. Film is not like that. So for a lot of people, it's not a worthy investment. But my experience, to the glory of God, literally, none of my films have failed, right? Everything has turned a profit. See why I said to the glory of God. Everything has turned a profit. Has it turned a profit in 12 months? No. Has it turned a profit in 18 months? Maybe. Has it turned a profit in 4 years? Definitely, right? So it depends on how much time you have to spend, to wait for that money to grow, and how you take the return on investment. Is it worthy of your time? Because a lot of people who invest are so used to investing in like trade, right? That you can quickly see how the money comes back. But film is so high risk. This is the first thing I tell everybody. Film is so high risk. You need to have the appetite to invest in film. That's the truth. Before you go into any other conversation, anyone that comes and tells you, oh, once you do it is not true. It is super high risk. Anything can happen. I put a film in the cinema once, and then there were the xenophobia attacks, and the film wasn't able to show because the cinemas were vandalized. After all the stress, so it's. But what I would say, everyone has said, research, seek the information. There are funds advisors who put together funds to invest in film. I tend to play in the, what we call premium, film space, theatrical films that go on global streaming platforms. But there are filmmakers who play in the YouTube space, who are making fantastic returns on investment. So there are funds advisors who will give you advice on that, who are looking to raise funds, or rather get investors into their funds, things like that. So if you can just do your research, you need to talk to the right people. If you're not talking to a funds advisor, you're talking to actual practitioners, producers in the space. You need to speak to the right people because there are a lot of scams in the space, but I think it's everywhere. And we do talk about investment, but it's just not as sweet a gist as others.
And actually, Chisholm, I want to ask you a specific question around this, because I know crypto, specifically, a lot of people that got into crypto was because of friends or someone told them, right? My husband told me to invest in Bitcoin. His account looked very nice, and I didn't. So much later, right? Yeah. So I want to, understand, did a friend tell you? Was it research? And now, because I know crypto is so volatile, right? When I was really heavy in the space, it was like the golden era, and then the FTX thing happened, which is they were a stock exchange. Basically, they went kaput. And then it kind of died down, and now it's bubbling back up. So I want you to speak to that.
Okay. So I'll say the first thing, it's still like basic knowledge. Like I feel like when people hear crypto mostly, they just think it's scams or I'm going to make 100x. When you think about stocks, you're like willing to wait, but everybody just wants to be like fast-paced with crypto, and that's where people get burnt. So I would say the first thing is understanding the basic knowledge. The same way there are times and seasons for stocks, that's the same way the crypto space happens. Most people just buy too late. Maybe you hear like Bitcoin is pumping, Trump launched it coin, and then you come and buy at the peak. But people have been buying up the silence. So I just say like is the prior knowledge is what still shapes everything.
Where can someone start to learn today?
So I can't really say that because like for other financial sectors, there are people that are like willing to put people through, but it's still, for me, it was friends. Like a friend, a girl, a lady told me about it and I was really, so you still need to talk to people that are familiar with the space. Yeah.
And so, Guna, I want to switch to you. And this is a funny story about how I bought a piece of art from you. So she told me about a specific artist a year ago. She said, Chica, buy now, buy now, buy now. And I was like, and then life happened. I came back to her a year later, and what happens? It doubled. And I said, oh, I'm gonna buy that piece. And it's in my house, right? So I want you to talk about how do you spot emerging artists? Because I know that's something you specialize in. And how do you explain it to any of us here today about like how we can start to invest in art?
All right, spotting emerging artists. Honestly, that's a skill. That is a curator, that's a gallerist. No, it's the truth, it's experience. So for someone who is not working in this space, you should buy from a gallery. Buy from a gallery, that's the truth. Buy from a gallery, buy from a dealer, because they've done that spotting and scouting for you. Even if you're not buying for investment, there's a chance that that might be a good investment. There is zero chance that the art from the art market is a good investment. 0 over 0. From the any markets, 0 over 0. You know what I mean? Unless by some chance, no. No, it was maybe an outlandish no. So with spotting that, going to a young gallery is also good because most likely you'll have a lower entry point and they'll have emerging artists, but there's some established galleries also have an emerging artist program. And the whole point of the buying from a gallery or a dealer, but mostly a gallery, is because they're putting the investment in that artist, right? They are intentional about making sure that that artist is successful, meaning I am putting an exhibition for him. I'm doing press. I'm calling collectors. I'm calling curators. I'm calling institutions to look at that work. And each thing they add on their resume adds more money to that value. So when I told you to buy that work, that was his first time showing. But I knew exactly what I wanted to do with that artist's career. And since then, he's done this exhibition, that residency. Mrs. So-and-so now owns this. And important collections, they add that value. You say, oh, Mr. So-and-so from XYZ now owns that work. Mrs. So-and-so owns that work. Yemisi Shilon has collected that work. It can't be the same price that it was before, and that's just the truth. But the artists can't do that. Some can, but the artists can't do that themselves. There has to be a system around that, and it's usually a gallery or a dealer that is creating these situations that add value to the work. And that's if you're buying for investment. But honestly, you should be, you know. You still buy what you like, you still buy what you love, because if it doesn't bang, it's still hanging in on your wall. So you want to enjoy it. So that's, I would honestly work with a gallery, even if you're not working with somebody one-on-one, that is where you should be looking. If you're trying to get in at any point, you know, their entry-level art right now within a gallery space is you're looking at maybe 500,000 naira for a small piece, that sort of thing. There could even be a 350, 400K. And if you go to the markets now, you will probably see that same price in the market. The entry point is not that low anymore. So there's no point, if you're gonna put 400,000 on a piece from the side of the road, go to the gallery where there's a chance that that's going to increase in the next few months, the next year, and so on.
Thank you. And this is really good. You guys take this very seriously because art is an amazing place to invest. And so the next I want to switch into is gold. So Adeze, I have a spicy question for you, right? So I saw a thread and they were specifically talking about the brand VCA. And you know all Nigerians, we wear it, okay? It's everywhere. And the point of the thread was talking about how it's actually not real gold. Now, I want you to, number one, correct that, if it is or not. But I'm curious about, you know, I know as Nigerians, we buy a lot of these designer type jewelry pieces that a lot of times are gold plated. So how do we know to spot real gold? And more specifically, I've been seeing a lot of jewelry brands from Nigeria start to come out, right? Are these, places to start investing in, or are there other places? Are there places in Nigeria that we can actually just buy the physical gold?
Okay, thank you very much. So the thing about the VCAs is like, it's buying branded jewelry. To me, I tell my customers, I say, it's not a worthy investment because it's just for the moment, You're going with the trend, you're going with the aesthetics, like Lagos big girl. But at the end of the day, when you want to sell them, the stones on them, even if you buy the actual VCA from the store, if you want to sell them, they would not trade it back. They won't collect it from you. They claim to collect you. You have to pawn them. Then if you buy the VCAs, especially the colored ones, when you want to sell them, they remove the plastics. They call them mother of pearls, different names, but they are plastic. So they remove the plastic, and the weight of the gold remaining is not a worthy investment. So when you're investing, I tell people, if you don't want to do gold coins, gold bars, I even avoid stones as much as possible. I avoid corals. I do let the weights be like heavy weights that when push comes to shove, you know that you have something to fall back on. So gold is an excellent store of value. It's the perfect hedge against inflation. It's not like property before you sell it, you start looking for. No offense. So I also look at gold in a certain way. You could pass it as a heirloom. Like, I have 2 daughters, and their gold collection. My daughter is always like, "Mommy, everybody knows you sell gold." I'm like, "You will wait. You will wait." So I've started investing. Their stash is at least sizable, so it can be passed on as heirloom. So that's why you have to do timeless pieces that are classics. That's in 5 years, in 10 years. We have some jewelry that people bought 5 years ago. They are still wearing it. It's still in fashion. It's still in vogue. So buying VCAs, it's a personal choice. If you have so much money that you want to invest in it. Definitely, at Real Jewels by Ada, I have readily available jewelry. I specialize in Italian jewelry. I don't like the mass-produced. I want my pieces exquisite, that you don't see everybody wearing it. So please, at Real Jewels by Ada, for your quality Italian pieces.
Okay, we need to go to Desma because she's like, I got some things to say. She's like, I got something to say. So actually, yes, this is very important, real estate, because interestingly, I interviewed someone, and it was our fastest growing episode on Afropolitan because everyone is interested in real estate, right? But for me specifically, what I would love for you to answer is around this notion around either buying land or actually buying a home, right? And what I want to understand is, as an American, I know, okay, I can buy a home, and then, 5, 6 later, I can sell it. There's that kind of, but I feel like in Nigeria, I don't hear that. What I hear is just, I develop, right? So I develop and I sell the home, but not I live in it. And then 6 years later, I sell it. So I want you to kind of demystify that specifically for Nigeria.
I'm sorry, Chika, but I have to start off with something. I have to start off with the defense of real estate, okay? Because one or two allegations made about, not necessarily being able to sell, right? And I just don't think that's, a fair position, right? for us to hold on this panel. There are a lot of benefits of investing in real estate, right? At the end of the day, much of the wealth that has been created, not just in Nigeria, but across board internationally, has come from real estate, right? You're not going to meet many wealthy people out there who do not have real estate investments. There's a reason for that. You can generate passive income, right? You can be renting out once you've developed it. It gives you a chance to diversify your overall, portfolio. There's appreciation of your asset value, which is really important in terms of actually generating long-term wealth. You can have relatively stable returns if you use it for something like rental income. It's also something that you can even use as an asset to leverage, right? You can use your real estate asset and go out there and borrow additional funds to then invest in other things. These are all really exciting ways that you can continue to grow your wealth, via real estate. If you are really smart about your timing, maybe looking at off-plan opportunities, with developers out there, the returns can be fantastic and they beat inflation, right? That's, it's on record. At 715, for example, when I look at our Lakeside estate, in the Jabi area of Abuja, an area that we were really excited about because we identified it as one, that would see a lot of development and growth, which has been proven correct thus far. A number of our clients in the secondary market, having bought from us off plan, made close to 300%, returns on their investment. So I say all that to say, real estate investment is not something to be sniffed at, okay? Please go out there, research it, think about it, because like I said, it really is an important element, of a sound investment portfolio. Okay, now that I've done that, now that I've tackled that, we can get back to the question, which I think was about land versus buying a unit.
Yes.
Okay.
But specifically, I know people are buying and there's this dream of I need to own my home, right? But I want to specifically talk about I buy it, maybe I'm there for 5 years and I sell it. Is there that culture in Nigeria?
Yeah, I think that that exists, but you tend to, well, I guess there's a lot of personal factors, I should say, that will drive the decision you make, right, at the end of the day. If you're buying land and you want to develop because you want to sell off for specific returns, are you buying it because you want to develop, because you want to just have your stable, rental income? It depends a lot on what are your ultimate goals, just as our panelists, mentioned as well in their session when it comes to more traditional investments. If you have a need to have somewhere to live, then, it makes sense, right, to buy a plot of land, perhaps develop it for your own specific needs, and then after some time, decide whether you want to start renting it out or whether you want to sell it. I think a lot of the times in terms of maximizing your returns, just buying the land, developing it specifically for sale, so then you can be guided by the various factors in terms of what is selling most successfully, what is there a lot of high demand for. You can look at the various indicators that mean that you're optimizing your returns, and then go ahead. I think it's a little bit different if you're building for yourself to live in. There might be quite specific things that you want to get out of your own personal home that will not necessarily be most suited to future sale. So there's a lot of sort of different things to think about. I don't think that we see as many people who buy to live for a while and then to sell on. We tend to either see people who buy specifically investment properties for rental, or people who are buying with the intention to sell in the secondary market and just make straight up profit, from the difference between what they paid for the unit and what they ultimately sell it for.
And so to Zulu, so I want to talk about, you've not had a film so far that lost prospect, correct? So I want you to talk about how do you spot the film that makes sense to even raise funding for, invest in, and could anyone in the audience be able to invest in today? Like, what does that vehicle look like to invest in film?
Okay. So I'll speak as an investor, right? So it usually everything starts from the story, right? What is this story that has been offered to you as an investment opportunity? The thing is, with time, trends change. So in the past 2-3 years, all we've been seeing are epic films, right? Because that's what is making all the money. So if you see an epic film versus seeing like a drama, which is our historical like genre, it would be best for you to go for the epic, right? Because that's what is currently trending. You want to invest in the producers, the people managing that investment offer. The thing with that is the producers you need to understand that you need to satisfy yourself that the producers understand risk management. I'll give an example. With us at Inkblot, when we started, what we used to do was per film, we'll go to an individual, oh, please invest, very stressful behavior. And then after a while, we decided instead of having just one film on offer, have 3 films, have 5. So you have a slate of films. If one film doesn't do so well at the moment, the others would pull it up, right? So your investment is spread across 5 or 3 films. Thankfully, we were saved from all of that running around, going to individuals. When we were able to package ourselves properly and approach institutions, and when I say package ourselves properly, have a track record, do good films, show good return on investment, and have great conversations with distribution channels. So what helped us at Inkblot was that we were able to get a deal with Amazon. And off of that deal with Amazon, it was very easy, like super easy to have institutional conversations. So that investors were like, okay, this definitely has a home after the theaters, and this already has revenue attached to it, so no brainer, right? And since then, we've left the individuals alone because enough of that. It's really stressful, you guys. There was once a time that that we approached an individual who was supposed to give us, at the time, this was 2018 or so, 60 million. And 2 days to the day we needed the money, he pulled out. Yeah, because he's not used to this. You need to understand the field, right? So it'll be good for a producer to show that they have a distribution channel that would actually address their target audience. And as an investor, you need to see that. You need to see that, of course, they can handle the risk. You need to see that they're good at budget planning. An investor, a producer cannot come to you saying, oh, okay, epics are in now, let's make an epic. And then they're asking you for 50 million naira. Doesn't make sense. You cannot choose an epic with 50 million naira. You need just the production design for epics can be 100 million naira. Films these days are shot for 300 million, 400 million naira. High-end films, of course, that's what I know. I didn't mean it that way, please, guys. Okay, so of course, as an investor, if you see that someone is coming to you with a 50 million naira epic deal, run away, because there will be stories. They'll come to you for another 150 million in the next 3 weeks. So budget planning. If you need to raise 400 million naira, you don't need all of that in cash. What is your network as a producer that you can reach out? We're shooting up north in Bauchi. The security, the logistics, that's transportation and accommodation was covered by the governor of Bauchi at the time, right? All of that helps with the money spent versus the money you earn. You just need to do a lot of research. You need to talk to the right people. You need to hunt for information, because another thing about my industry is the information is not readily out there. That is by design. That is not readily out there, but trust me that if you sit down with anybody, myself, anybody in the industry, privately, the information is given. It's easily given. As an investor in film, I would say that it's quite lucrative. The last 2 years, I keep saying the last 2 years, I really wish this panel happened last year or 2 years ago, because there was quite a boom. Like at the time, people who had never done anything in film raised money, 700 million naira. A first-time filmmaker spent that amount of money making a film because they knew that there was a Netflix or an Amazon available to pick that film up once they produced
What's the
it.
return on that? 700M.
I mean, public. But there are people who have made deals, $700,000 deals, $800, $1 million deals. So there's money, the money came back, right? People made a ton of money these past 2-3 years. Right now, we are back to, who was it? I think it was Akugo. You have to save for the rainy day, right? So thankfully, we were able to save. Right now, everybody in the industry is back to square one. Like, we're resilient, guys. We have grit. We will get there again. But but right now, it's you know, as they say, ebbs and flows. So right now, we're in that in retreat.
But I have one last question, because you talked about YouTube. I'm particularly interested in it because I'm seeing, you know, these, they seem like studios, right? And if they're, let's say they are getting about 6-7 million views on one video, right? As a YouTuber, right, you're typically at that $10,000, $20,000 a month mark if you're hitting those type of numbers. So I know it's not the same specifically in Nigeria because so in YouTube there's a thing called CPM, and it's the 1,000 views per.
Yes.
Every 1,000 views you get money. So I know that CPM is a little lower because of advertising.
A lot lower.
Yeah, a lot lower because of advertising. But I am curious, are people looking at that as an investment?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure. That's what a lot of people moved into from the middle of last year when, you know, things went awry. So yes, a lot of people are doing that now. And there's money in it. There's actually money in it. It's just smaller investment, smaller return on investment according to, you know. Anyway, but there's return on investment. I'll just put it that way. 2x money, 3x money. Yeah. So it's a good deal for people who are interested in that. Yeah.
And then Chisholm, I want you to talk about, you know, I know people are still investing in Bitcoin and Ethereum. These are more of the stable assets in the cryptocurrency space. I personally own some NFTs, right? So I'm curious, are there other assets outside of the traditional ones that people can invest in now?
Okay, so first thing, non-financial advice. NFA, whatever you hear here, you are just gisting. I would say most people just know about Bitcoin, but I would say as at this year, there are over 2.5 million cryptocurrencies. That is, as there's Bitcoin, Ethereum, there are like 2.5 million of them. So even you can launch your own token. She has an NFT. I don't know if you still.
I do.
And they did well. Like, she made a lot of money.
You actually, the cheapest one, I think, is like $5,000.
So you see?
And
like,
we sold them for like $300, yeah.
So like, I think people don't really have that information because people just focus on Bitcoin, and daily, there are like 5,300 tokens or coins that launch. So, and when people talk about Bitcoin, I say Bitcoin is actually low risk because if you're in the space, there are like, I would say 3 asset classes. There's Bitcoin, low risk, there are utility tokens, medium risk, and there are what we call meme coins. And you know, some people might have heard of Doge. I don't know if anybody has heard of Doge. Dogecoin, Shiba. Even Trump launched a meme coin and it went to $15 billion market cap in 2 days. So like, I think if people know all of this, I think it becomes better. But then Bitcoin is the lowest risk. Why do we say Bitcoin is the lowest risk? Because at peak losses, Bitcoin can only, you can only lose like 60% of value. But meme coins, where people make like 10x, 100x in a day, they are like the boom, boom, boom. Yeah, so stick to Bitcoin if you're like still new, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, they're still like, or BNB, Binance token. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to open up the floor for Q&A because I know there was a lot of different components and even some competing thoughts. Yes, you have a question? This is your time, ladies. Please do not be shy. Do not be shy. Okay, we got a couple. Okay, I'm gonna go with my sis real quick.
Yeah, 2 mics. Yeah.
Thank you, ladies, and well done. One of the reasons why I invited quite a few people here is because, one, we've hit 40, and we need to start to get serious about our money. I've had heavy conversations with women who are in their 50s, have retired, and are still renting and looking for rent. Unfortunately, when it comes to real estate, it seems, or the way it's marketed, it seems so impossible. As though we need to go and stand on Sanusi Fafua. We're not doing that, right? It's true. I want to hear about mortgages. If the current rental price for a place in Ikoyi right now is 22 million, and I know my girls are paying 22M. Yeah, I'm sure there's 30, there's X, Y, and Z. If we were anywhere else in the world, it would make more sense to put such funds into a mortgage so that you're paying to own. Because Lekki one now, 12M. And I'm 18, and I'm sure there are homes, 100 million. I would rather that go. So do mortgages work here, and how easy is that? That's number one. 2, gold. I think that people need to understand gold is an investment. A lot of our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers sent our parents to school selling gold. And I'd really like to hear that from you, Ada, is how can this actually be a saving tool for us? And then also my question regarding gold is that, do we have vaults? Because when the house girl decides to do Rambo and steal our things, I need to know if we have vaults, and pray to God that the bank doesn't burn down. That. And then crypto, sorry, I know it's one question, but I'll just, And then crypto. Unfortunately, when we hear crypto, I'm thinking G-Boys. Sure. I'm thinking straight up 419. So my question to you is, explain crypto to those of us who think 419 when we hear crypto. I need to hear the easiest possible explanation. What is this thing that all the G-boys are keeping their money at? And I mean, and they're making dough, because they're popping the bottles and everything in the clubs, but it's fine. But I want to hear about that. But most importantly for me is the real estate. You guys, we cannot be paying rent after a certain age. If we're going to not have money, let's have where we will lay our head and soak our gari and granules. And I also want to hear that if you can afford a home in Surulere, it is way better than nothing. It doesn't have to be Ikoyi. It doesn't have to be VI. That's kind of the feel of what I want to get. I want my girls to leave here knowing that they can, and not that we have to go and, create a heist to go steal at First Bank, right? Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Thanks so much, Buki, for that question. I guess I should start off saying, look, at the end of the day, I'm a developer, right? I don't, my focus is not loans, and it's not financing, specifically to purchase real estate assets. We develop assets that we are very confident will give our clients high returns, and that's really what the focus is. I'm aware, though, that yes, there are mortgages that exist. The commercial banks do give mortgages. The key issue is that the rates are not great, right? I think they range between about 15 to 25%, right? So I think on average about 22% or so, which is really challenging. we as developers face financing challenges ourselves, right? When, just as an aside, when people sort of complain about things like house prices, and these terrible developers, they're priced at this level and that level, I think often they forget that those developing abroad, have much more access to a lot of financing. When you are able to easily access funds and borrow to do these developments, it's a very different prospect compared to having to come up with a lot of money, and financing on your own, either at high, interest rates or basically your own savings, right? So I very much empathize with the whole sort of funding issue. I know that the government has launched, there's the MOFI, REEF, right? The Ministry of Finance, Real Estate, Investment Fund. I'm aware that they are really encouraging, home ownership. And so I believe they said on their platform, you can, apply for a mortgage via their platform, and there's access to some mortgages that way. There's also, I think, the federal housing, bank, so that you can also, that's another route to access mortgages. And they are doing, I think their loans are much lower interest rates, so single digit, right? You wouldn't be paying the same sort of 22% that the commercial banks are applying. And then I think, when I think of other sort of financial support for those looking to purchase, if you can't perhaps go directly into purchasing a full property asset, you might explore something like the real estate investment trusts, right, as a way to play in the real estate space, even if you don't have the full funding. The other thing I'd encourage you to do is go out there and really negotiate with developers and sellers, right? A lot of the time, people are willing to take a certain amount, a certain percentage, as a deposit, and so you can pay over a longer period of time. You don't necessarily have to have all the money up front. That's something, for example, that we do. We have different strategies, even on the developer side, to actually help financing for those purchasing from us and to just help, transactional flow, right? So we'll take, say, a 30% deposit, and then over, the span of the project, you can then pay in different installments. If you come to us and say, look, I'm ready to pay cash upfront, full amount, we can discuss discounts, because we recognize, right, that there is a benefit to having that money up front versus having the payment done long term. So I would definitely say, talk to developers as well, talk to the people you're purchasing from, see if you can structure arrangements that might be helpful to you. And then I think the other key thing I'd say, which I'd mentioned before, is look very carefully for strong deals with potential for growth, right? If you time things right, and again, like I said before, you're working with a trusted real estate developer, you've done your due diligence, you get a good off-plan deal, right? By the time you're selling that unit, you really could make a substantial amount of money. You could then decide, okay, now part of that I want to use to be able to purchase, my own property. And the other part of it, goes off somewhere else in some other investments. So it may be that before ultimately purchasing your home, you might just figure out other ways to kind of play in the real estate market. Just as you mentioned, location is really important. If you can't necessarily afford a property in the prime areas, say the Lekki, Koi, VI, etc., look at other areas, perhaps around the fringes of, the urban centers. Those may give you some interesting opportunities in terms of putting your money down on some land, waiting for it to appreciate, and then, selling off for high returns. Once you've got those returns, you may then have enough to be able to afford the property, that you really want. So those are the sorts of things that I can think about. But at the end of the day, I would always say, do think about investing in real estate. The demand is only growing. There's a reason why developers can charge what they are, charging. There is a strong demand. there is scarcity in the market. I think it's about 28 million units, right? They're saying, that we're lacking now. By the end of the year, it's supposed to shoot up to like 30 million. Our population is growing rapidly. By 2050, we're the third most populous country in the whole world. So there is not going to be a pause in the demand. It's, means a lot of opportunity if you enter the space.
And then quickly, do you also advise that we don't convert to dollars when we're buying? Reason for this is, I bought my first property in 2019. The amount of money it was in dollars, I thought I was skipping to the bank. Now we're in 2025, I record that as a loss. So are you advising that we don't do that dollar thing? Because it can be very,
So sorry, when you say convert your money to
so dollar
dollars,
in 2019 was X, Y,
okay,
and
so
Z.
you paid in Naira, but
Yeah.
you just mean you did a mental conversion.
I think maybe even to build
Is
on
that
that
it?
question, I think my question really is, and maybe sometimes it's just like too much sense is doing me, think that investing in real estate in Nigeria is a sentimental decision at best and not a financial one. And so at this one, because we're friends, we can have this conversation without fight. And the reason why I say that, like it goes to the point that Buki made about the amounts that I'm hearing about property in Ikoyi, of all places, is the amount that you would pay for a significantly bigger, better designed property in any other part of the world. So I'm just like, why am I spending 300 M? Not that I have it too. But peradventure I had the money. Like, why am I spending that on buying something where the road outside my house is bad? I still have to deal with PHCN. And if I don't, I'm like, why am I buying that when I can take that money and pack it elsewhere where I know the resources, the infrastructure actually makes sense for the price of the property? And so when I say it's a sentimental decision, like that's what it is, because I started and put in Excel, I've done the math, and I'm just like, this doesn't make sense. And so I want to understand why, beyond the sentiment of, oh, you should own a home where you're from.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's strictly a sentimental decision. I do think it can be a financial one. I hear you in terms of the fact that there are opportunities as well abroad. And at the end of the day, we have clients who have the chance to spend their money abroad and still decide that there are great opportunities in Nigeria, right? There are reasons also for that. When you look at purchasing properties in some of the top areas in Lagos, a lot of the property values will simply appreciate, alongside or to match things like currency depreciation / inflation. So if you are looking at the right locations, you're not going to be losing your money even in dollar terms. If you make the right investments, there are opportunities to make dollar, returns, right? The other things you can do in terms of thinking about currency, hedging, right? Say you've got some property and you're looking at rental, right? And you're looking at your rental, returns. You can decide to USD index, your rent, if that's what you choose to do, right? Yes, yeah. There's nothing. Two things. You can say you're going to pay me in Naira, indexed, to the dollar. There's nothing wrong with that. What, as far as I'm aware, you're not legally allowed to do is say, I will only accept dollars for this payment, i.e., I am not accepting Naira, even though that is the legal tender in Nigeria, right? So there's nothing that stops you in a contractual arrangement from putting in all sorts of interesting, mitigants, right, to deal with currency appreciation. Those things can be done. So please don't just think about it as a sentimental decision. It absolutely can give you strong financial returns. There's a reason why, a number of us are in this business. The market's about 2.6 trillion. We're like the third largest, sector now. There's a reason for that, right? It continues to grow, as I mentioned. So there are opportunities. You just have to really go out there and look for them.
Okay. and I'm gonna. Okay, let me just go then. Ah. So like contrary like to like a lot of like misconceptions, I just feel like most real people in crypto are busy doing a lot of work, so they might not really like trying to show off or come every day and do a lot of things. I, for one, like I work in the space. I've been working in the crypto space for like 7 years. I've worked with like the market leaders, the top exchanges. So I won't have the time to come and, oh, okay, Bitcoin is this. But I just feel like if like more people can share this information, and when people say crypto, Bitcoin, what they just mean is like a digital money on a blockchain. So like for like USD or euro or pounds is like the government have more control over that. But then crypto was started by someone called, an entity called Satoshi Nakamoto. And then what he wanted a decentralized currency where people could use it as a store of value, payment, just basically be free from control for certain reasons. I know it's a very sensitive topic, so like I'm always very sensitive to talking about crypto. But then like I just feel like if people like understand how this thing works, and there are lots of scammers in the industry, and people like the fast returns, okay, 100x. And don't get me wrong, though, like there are actually tokens that actually do that on a daily. Like, Chica's NFT went from $300 to $5,000. You guys know her. So like, she didn't tell you guys. So like, so like there are actually like things like this, and I just feel like it's just the right information and the timing, because timing is very key. There's something we call the bear market cycle, the bull market cycle. So for the bear market cycle, everything comes down, and then it's like a 4-year cycle. So I would say the bull market, okay. The bear is red, down. The bull is green, high, bullish, bearish. So the bear market ended categorically last year when Trump got elected. That's why he launched a token, his wife launched a token, his son launched a token. But now it's a bit sensitive. But they launched a token. But it's still existent. It's still existent. So that's just basically like how like the whole thing happened. Normally it's meant to be a 4-year cycle, but then with Trump entering and then accepting the whole of the thing, it became a bit centralized in terms of they pulled in a lot of liquidity, and I don't want to say they pulled out a lot of liquidity because they still have like valuation and it's still actually trading. Now they have shareholders, regulators are coming into the space. So it's a very unique year for crypto. As of last year, Bitcoin alone went from like 70K to like 110, I think at peak. 170K to 100. So when she said, I wish we had this conversation 2 years earlier, if maybe you had bought Bitcoin or other tokens. So there are lots of tokens, but I just want to lean towards Bitcoin. Aside that, it can be used as for payment. There are stable coins, USDT. There are careers in crypto. So people work in crypto. People have real-time jobs. It's just really a lot, but I think I would just stick to here. Maybe if there are like more direct questions. Okay.
Oh, sorry. This is a quick note. Because I know it's confusing. So something else to look into. I don't know if Bamboo has this, so you might have to do research. But I also know because a lot of institutions are now investing in Bitcoin. So now when the institutions come in, that's when it gets real interesting, right? There's even now ETF Bitcoin, right? So if you're saying, look, I don't know about Bitcoin, even though to me it's conservative. To you, it may not be. There is ETFs that are looking across all this portfolio and they're investing. And so that is also a very good place to look into as well. If you want to dip your toe into it, you don't want to go fully into it. Bitcoin ETFs. I know there's one at Grayscale, etc.
Okay, so gold, unlike the Bitcoins, the film industry, where they have their cycles, they have up, they go down. Gold in the past 10 years has never gone down. It's been going up. Right now, gold is at the highest, as in like 10 years to come, this is the highest rate gold has ever been. And this is because they said the US have the highest reserve of gold. China is trying to meet up to the US. Even our central bank, their gold reserve is, so if your bank can have gold, what about you? So because now the demand for gold is so much, they can't meet up the supply. So that's why it's at all-time high. So I tell people, this is non-traditional way of saving. We don't have to speak big English. Even though there's ETF, there's gold backed up. Exactly. So there's also the gold backed up ETFs. Well, that's for people that have advanced, that have gone way. But for laymen, for market women, for our mothers, it's very easy. You're buying gold. It's either you're buying the necklace, you're buying the earring, you're buying the gold bars. So if you're investing, we've established that gold is a good store of value. You have to protect your store of value. So they have companies that, I'm not recommending any, you can Google it. Even the banks, you can also save your gold in vaults. But I always tell anybody, because of the stories of house helps or this, you go and buy a safe. If you go to Mega Plaza, they have lots of safes that are not so expensive, 200K, 350K. If you're spending money, you have to protect your investment. You can't buy something of $35,000 and you just keep it recklessly. So you have to protect your investment. You have to get the safe, use the investment, use the different banks to save your gold. So that's about it.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Abiola Aylara. I'm a nurse, but I major in health informatics. So I have this question. I wrote it down so that I don't forget. In the African context, Nigeria now, where we face a rising youth population alongside increasing elderly care needs, why is investment in healthcare infrastructure, including real estate, medical equipment, and digital health systems, is not being seen as a strategic and sensitive priority for women investment? Thank you.
So it's important to know that's more of a VC question or angel investor question. I'm an angel investor, but I'm not a VC, so there is a difference. So I think one thing I will say is I think one of the strongest tech companies I've seen out of Nigeria is a health company. I don't know why the name is escaping me right now. Health Tracker. Sorry? Health Tracker. No, it's the same team from Bamboo. I don't know why the name is escaping me right now. Sorry? Yes, Helium, yes. So there are companies investing in it, but I would say if you're a nurse, I don't know, did you train here or abroad, right? You could be an angel investor. And I think that's a common thing that people don't talk about. It can be as small as, I've seen $2,500, I've seen $5,000. And it's more about having open conversations with friends, because I know Helium, when they were raising, they asked people, in the tech community. So I think if that's an area you're looking into, I would get closer or start asking some of your tech friends, start asking about, hey, I want to angel invest, and start just opening up and having those conversations. But there's a lot of tech startups here that are looking.
Thank you so much. Good evening. My name is Karim Shakirat. I'm a property developer. I just want to add some things to what some panelists said about real estate investment. So real estate is the only tangible asset that can stand the test of time. So when we talk about real estate investment, in Ikoyi, so some of us, if we want to invest in the US today, are we going to be thinking of investing in Manhattan? If you can afford Ekpe, go go to Ekpe and invest your money wisely. If you can't afford off plan, buy your property, get your documentation right, and keep your property to yourself. So I'm not going to agree with Ada, because if you buy gold today and you want to resell your gold, of course you can't get the same value. Real estate can never depreciate. Real estate can never depreciate. If you have your property in a prime location, the higher the demand, the higher the price. For some of us, see, real estate price is not sacrosanct. If I put my property in the market today.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. So those type of comments we can have when we do networking. And yeah, please.
I did want to respond to that as well, similar to gold and arts and most of the things that we've spoken of here. I mean, I have clients who have paid their children's school fees from their art collection. It's tangible. It's hanging on your wall. You take it down and you sell it today. That is one of the best things about art. Art also doesn't, especially Nigerian art specifically, because we peg it to the dollar. So whatever you buy in Naira, the point is we're growing it to sell on the global market. At a certain point, that art that you bought, you can't pay for it in Naira anymore. They have ascended this market, but it's tangible. You know what I mean? You can sell it today. You can liquidate it today. That is the best. So much like gold, there are other tangible, investment assets for sure.
There's the intangible one that also stands the test of time.
We have to go.
Film. You can use your IP as collateral. Guys, it's the strong people with strong mind. Come and invest.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sophia Bioma, and my question is for Zulu Moke. I know we focused a lot on real estate and everything.
I told you we don't talk in group chat.
Well, you have to talk to us. Listening to everyone here, I know if I want to buy art, I can go to Yanwa. If I want jewelry, I can go to Ada Real Estate. I can go to Adeswa Crypto. I can go to Chisom. But out of everything you said, Zulu, I don't know if it was intentional, but I don't know where I can invest in movies, listening to you. So, I mean, give us some examples for the benefit of others.
Yes,
please.
yes.
Thank you.
No. So I did say that there are people who have funds, like the fund advisors, right? Oh, so like I know MBO Capital has a fund for film. Chapel Hill Denham has that as well. But the thing is, like I said, you do have to do a lot of research. Look for individual producers that are making films. YouTube is low-hanging fruit. It's closer to the trading type of film investment, because by the time you do the film, you come up with a story, make the film in a month, you're selling already. By the next month, by the third month, the return is coming in already. So that's easy. That's low-hanging fruit. Other ways to invest in film wouldn't be in the film itself, in things like equipment houses, costumes, production designs, or production design houses. Those are, lower hanging fruits. And then if you have mind, you can do the bigger ones. You can do actual film, feature films, series, whatever it is. Yeah, I think that's the easier. Let me not take too much time, but that's the easier answer. Yeah.
Well, thank you to each and every one of you. This was a very interesting conversation. There is networking outside, so I'm hoping every single lady leaves with another contact, someone they can add in a group chat, so we can continue having these investment conversations.
Sorry, ladies, we just have one of our sponsors just going to make a quick conversation, and then I'll close the evening. Thank you.
Let's do this and then. Okay.
just wanted to say these conversations could go on forever and ever. And I hope you would all come outside. I hope all the panelists will be here. Thank you so much for your time, your questions. I've learned a lot. In fact, I can do meme coin. I can do ink blots. I will talk to you about that later. That's why you've told me I can come to you for discounts, payment plans. I got you. Ada, I know where to find you. Yenwa Gayo, I'm coming for you. I've had such a great time. A well-diversified portfolio should have bits from the first panel, which are your traditional investments and your non-traditional investments. That makes your portfolio well-rounded, okay? So make sure you speak with everybody and, get the investment opportunities all around. This room is rife with opportunity. I hope everybody got a bag, a page bag. My colleagues are outside as well, because I have to plug my business. My page ladies, beautiful ladies, are outside. If you have any more questions, we'll be happy to help you. Investment opportunities from as little as 10,000 naira all the way to $10 million, all the way up. We got you. Thank you so much, ladies. Have a wonderful evening.
All right, thank you very much, Toyin. Once again, would like to thank our sponsors, CFG Africa and Page Asset Limited. Thank you very much for supporting this event. And again, ladies, the reason for this event is exactly what it is that we need to be smarter with our money. I know that social media tensions all of us, but we need to make some really, really smart moves, especially at our age. We want to retire well. We want to invest well. We want roofs over our head. We want our money to work for us. So please engage. Engage all of the panel speakers. Engage the woman next to you. And let's see how we can make our money work for us. Thank you very much for attending. God bless you. And there's a networking session outside. We have food, champagne, everything. Please, and then the conversations can start. Bring out your business cards. Thank you.